But we also have right here in our studio Rahul Arora, the CEO of Nirmal Equities, who's here with us to help us, understand what we can expect from the budget. Rahul, thanks for being with us here in the studio. It's the same drill every year, right? I mean, this time as well, you can't expect much given it's an election year. But nevertheless, we were talking about some of the incentives that will be provided to certain sectors. And one sector which has been a thrust area for the government is green energy. So this time we understand that there could be a green transition fund that is, created to, for financing of green projects, etc. All these stocks, do you think they've priced in this news or is there more to go?
So I think, first off, good morning and thank you for having me on the show. I think, Sonia, a lot of these were either too new or too under-owned. And I think, as we saw, say, at the start of the pandemic, when chemicals was not a very big sector, and within 18 months, these stocks went up 5-6x, and then they've gone nowhere for an extended period of time. You've seen that in PSUs and a lot of these. These are visionary statements, but there's not too much of a direct way to play them from a listed capital market, right? This will evolve over a period of time. And I think to that extent, I think while the steps are in the right direction, and I think, a lot of companies are talking about decarbonization and alternate fuels, and a lot of large industrial conglomerates are investing in those directions. But I think any kind of incentive towards that direction is welcome. But I don't see too many listed direct ways sort of to play.
The Tata Powers, JSW Energies of the
There'll
world.
probably be a handful of them. Yeah. I mean, take a look at Suzlon, right? Everything had a price. Suzlon had gone down to about 5 rupees and it became a multi-bagger from there. You've seen that with Adani Green.
So you mean none of them are worthy of, are priced correctly at the point?
So I think that holds true for the market by and large. I think it is priced to perfection. And I think the earnings season is also telling you that, whether it's the biggest banks in the country or the biggest IT companies in the country, if you are not giving the results or if things are not panning out as per expectations, corrections are definitely happening. But I think, we should have probably from where we started off, probably already been much more ahead in our journey for EVs, for example, already. But that has not quite happened. And I think it will eventually happen. And I think recently at the IBLA Awards, only Piyush Goyal was sounding very bullish about where EVs will be by 2030. But these are not immediate, like from a retail stock market perspective, what do I buy after this? Those options may be very few compared to what the rest of the market has to offer.
First of all, I want to welcome you. Rahul is a former colleague, and on the budget day, we invite the best. So I'm so happy to see you with us on budget day as a guest, not as an anchor.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I will never forget that my first live show on television was with you as a co-anchor. And I was nervous sick. And I think in that 1 hour show, I must have spoken for all of 5 minutes. But you've always been a great support, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay, now in the budget,
yes,
I mean, the same question I asked Deepan as well. If there is a good capex announcement, will you be enthused for any stock? If there is a big income transfer announcement, these are the things we're expecting.
Right.
A PM, Kisan Samman Nidhi going from 6,000 to 8,000 rupees. Will that make you buy rurally exposed FMCGs?
So I think, Latha, it's pretty much known that the capex number will come down. As you said, the 35% growth, that will probably come down to a 10 to 15% kind of growth. I think the government will probably want the private sector to do most of the heavy lifting on capex from here. And to a large extent, Latha, if you see, that has already started in the road announcements. I think if you see the kind of announcements that NHAI has done, it's been a very disappointing year from a road project announcement standpoint. So it's somewhere already started. But I think a good proxy to this, Latha, would be to play through cement. Because I think most of the high-cost inventory has been replenished. And I think if you look at Shree Cement, JK Cement, and some of the others that have come out, there's been a huge expansion in margins, right? So I think if you're looking at CapEx be doing, whether public sector or private sector, I think the proxy to play it could definitely be cement, and valuations are not too expensive there. I think post the interim budget and the elections, I think road projects announcements would go up in a very material way. So you could play through stocks like PNC Infra, KNR Construction, Ashoka Buildcon, and there are a lot of private equity deals happening on some of their projects as well. The only thing that's disappointing me, Latha, as a former consumer analyst myself, is the kind of volume growth that FMCG companies are showing. I'm not even talking about double digit. It's not even structurally going to a mid-single digit number, and that's very challenging. And
Godrej did overnight.
Yeah, but I think those are, few and far between. I mean, even Dabur, I think consolidated was 5-6%. But I think for the, for the valuations that these guys are trading at, Latha, I hold lever. And But even then, to be paying 50 times for a 2% volume growth, I don't know. I mean, even Dabur, right? The return ratios, the return on equity and return on capital employed is in the mid-20s. The stock's at 42, 43 times. So it's almost, going at double of what the return ratios are. So as an investor, I'm looking at those metrics with equal measure. But I think it'll probably be, at the margin to help rural. There will be some announcements.
I have to interrupt you.
Sure.
There's a huge breaking news flashing. Wall Street Journal is reporting that Disney's deal with Viacom is done, Viacom18, and the India assets have been bought by Viacom18. That stock is incidentally owned by TV18 and Network 18.
No, the story
so
here
the
is
usual
disclaimer. The story here is that it's a great deal for Viacom18 and Reliance Industries because
the valuation.
I think they started with, there were reports that the India business is valued at $10 billion. Then recently we heard a number of $5 billion, $4.5 billion. Reliance Industries in a statement to exchanges recently said that they can't comment on these numbers, etc. And now what we learn is that the valuation, the India business is valued at under $4 billion, right? And 60% of the business is being sold to Viacom18. So I think, from a valuation perspective, this looks like a pretty good deal. We've been sort of, focused on the other one recently, which of course did not happen, which is Sony and Z in the media space. But I mean, this has gone through and looks like a pretty good one for Reliance.
As you were saying, the value. Okay, by the way, that's Nirmala Sitharaman getting all set to present the interim budget in just a while from now and rushing inside. So we'll try and get you more snippets of that in just a bit. But as you were saying, the valuations of this deal have gone down over the last one and a half years. And one of the reasons for that is because of a part write-off of the revenue that was originally due to Disney from the sale of its cricket TV rights to Z. And, there was an expectation that they were unable to pay up that amount. And hence the business was valued. It started off at 10 billion and it was valued lower. Any comments on this that you want to make?
Well, I think, Sonia, Disney's always been a very big India player. There was a time on the movie production on the movie production side, they had tied up with UTV and Ronnie at one point in time. And Ronnie had made a very good exit at that point. And I think even when OTT started, they didn't waste any time in tying up with Hotstar. So I think they're a very big India player. And as Prashant was saying, I think if you look at the two or three heavyweights in media today, it is Reliance Industries, it is Sony, and it is going to be Disney going forward. So I think it makes a complete... it's a marriage made in heaven, so to speak. I think Disney's been wanting to make that play. I think it was unfortunate that Z's deal fell through because I think Sony has just so much, since you mentioned cricket, I think Sony has just so much going for itself in terms of sports and even other properties like Kaun Banega Crorepati, the singing and the dancing shows. I think Sony is doing so well. I think the only competitor is a Viacom18 channel, which is colors predominantly. So I think between these three players and the fact that two of them are coming together and consolidating, I think this could only be good news for the entire sector overall.
Did we discuss Paytm?
Would it make you buy more of Reliance and any of the related stocks?
I'd be a buyer in Reliance any which ways, Latha. I think because I think if you look at, what 70% of the market is IT, banks, FMCG and Reliance, right? I think at the short end, you're still seeing deposit rates go up. So I think NIM pressures may still be there. I don't know how much the bank nifty will re-rate from here. Consumer, we've discussed already, and IT, we've seen some of the results haven't been up to scratch. So I think if there's going to be one thing that leads the market from here, regardless of this news, I'd still probably be a buyer in Reliance. And
thank you very much, Rahul, as well. Really kind of you to give us both the macro and the micro perspectives on the market.
Thank you for having me.